The FiiO FA9s are $499 and they sound awesome. Who are these for? Let's take a look. Hey, how's it going? This is Joe and Tell, and today I'm going to be taking a look at the FiiO FA9s. FiiO sent these out to me to check out, and I'm glad they did because these really sound good. Now the question is, who are these for? And so, in my opinion, these at $499 are not for just the everyday guy. They're going to be for somebody who's an enthusiast, maybe somebody who's looking to change over from headphones and maybe they have a good collection and they're kind of looking to see what is available in the IEM section. So the way I use them is for the Daily Hi-Fi podcast. I don't like to wear headphones because I think they look a little bit bulky. And so I chose to use IEMs. I reached out to FiiO and said, hey, do you guys have any good IEMs that I can try out? Because, you know, I have some and they're not really the best. And so they did, and that's what we have here. Let me start off first with the unboxing experience. It was pretty amazing. At $499, you expect that. But I would say it's on par, if not better, than most smartphone unboxings that I've done. Maybe slightly below the Focal Stelias that were $3,000. So that was a crazy unboxing experience where everything was leather. Slightly below that, but overall, a great unboxing experience. First thing I noticed when I did the unboxing is they kind of have it in a heart shape here, which is kind of cool. And these are very shiny. These are the first things that I noticed right off the bat. Underneath, you find a lot of different tips. So depending on your style, what fits the best for you, you have some options. They have some that are balanced for enhanced bass, for enhanced vocals, spin fit tips, which is the one that I'm using right now, the medium-sized one, foam tips, and double flanged. The other accessories that it comes with are a hard leather case. It has a tool here to be able to change the dip switches, which I'll get into later. It has a brush to clear off the nasty earwax, which I don't have, a soft case, and a magnetic clip. So as far as fit and finish, like I said, these are very shiny and they look kind of like diamonds. Depending on the angle, you'll see that it just has a glimmer to it. Not really the thing that I would go for if I were to choose. I'd want something a little bit more just not as shiny. But I ended up looking at these and I was like, you know what? They don't look too bad. I'm not going to go out with them and, you know, got that Mariah Carey look or anything like that. But I think overall fit and finish is excellent on these. So let's take a close look at them. So there you can see how it's very shiny, and they use a clear 3D printed resin, which I've found to be very comfortable. And if you look closely here, you can actually see the sound tubes. So these sound tubes act as passive filters and they just look really cool. I don't think that they could do that without 3D printing because that must be extremely precise. The cable here is 8-strand monocrystalline silver plated copper cable. Basically, it's a fancy cable. It looks nice and it's comfortable to go around the ears. You know, they have to rest here. And so I've found that some other ones are a little less comfortable. Some of them make sound. This one is none of those things. It uses an MMCX connector and a right angle 3.5mm headphone jack. Personally, I don't like right angle just because I find that most of the things I'm plugging into, I'm just going straight into it. So if anybody can tell me why people prefer right angle, let me know. Another thing that you'll notice is it makes it very clear which one is left and right because the right is red, left is blue. Now, as far as the tech on these are using a 4-way electronic crossover. You'll also notice that there are dip switches here. One is for sensitivity, one is for the treble boost on or off, and the other one is to reduce the bass and increase the mids. And so I had it on the default setting where the sensitivity was on high, the bass was not boosted, mids were boosted, and treble was not boosted. I found for me that was the best sound for my preference. So this is using 6 Knowles balance armatures, SWFK 31736 for high and ultra high frequencies. You have the 31618 driver for bass frequencies, and what I think is the game changer is this EJ33877 created by FiiO with the help of Knowles. So these are custom drivers and this is for the mid-range, and I think this is why these sound so good. So regarding the sound on these, you know that I usually review speakers, some headphones, and the thing that I noticed when comparing speakers compared to IEMs, the different IEMs I have, is that there's a huge variation in the frequency response in IEMs. And I think that might be because they have to kind of adjust based on your inner ear, which they don't know. And so there might be a large variation because of that. But it was just something that I noticed is there are huge swings, like they're not even close to the same frequency response. And the thing that I found difficult in IEMs is getting the vocals right. And so usually I use these for the podcast. And so I know the mic that I use, I know the frequency response of that mic, and I also know the sound of my voice. And so I noticed that on some IEMs, my voice just didn't sound right. And on these, they sounded as good as they do on some of the best headphones and speakers that I've reviewed. And so I did do some frequency response measurements, and take this with a huge grain of salt because I don't have the proper tools to do it. I just wanted to get an idea what these did compared to some of the others. And so I compared them with some very inexpensive IEMs like the KZ-KS10 Pros, the Mi M6 Pros. You would never look at these two and compare them. It's just what I have, just to give you an idea what it's like to go from an inexpensive IEM to something like this in the $500 price range. I also compared it with some true wireless earbuds like the Liberty Air 2s that I have, as well as the Liberty 2 Pros. And so the thing that I noticed about these that the other ones didn't do is the other ones had a huge peak around 3 kilohertz, and they had a little bit of a dip actually. As we know, 3 kilohertz is a very sensitive hearing range. So these guys, because they have that dip, it sounded a lot more pleasing, less fatiguing. In some cases they sound less detailed, but I think that was just a false sense of detail. And I actually prefer the way that these sounded. And I did some experiments where I took the other ones that I had, put a 3 kilohertz dip, and they sounded better to me. So regarding the sound, I would say that the bass went down as far as I needed it to go. And so deep bass, no problem. Mid bass, all bass, no problem. Mid range, like I'm saying, I think that is the key to these. The vocals just sounded smooth, sweet, sounded accurate. And as far as the top end, I have no complaints. It wasn't as bright as some of the other ones. They're not as V-shaped and exciting as some of the other ones that I have here, but that's not what I'm looking for. I want accurate. And so they extend out far enough on the top end. So overall, it's a sound signature that I'm really looking for. If you're looking for something that's true to the original source, I think that these do a good job of doing that. So these have a frequency response from 15 hertz to 40 kilohertz. They are rated between 16 to 32 ohms, and that's what that switch does. And from what I found is that it didn't have enough of an effect because my Shit Audio Bailey 2, when I plug in IEMs, it does have a little bit of a hiss. When I plug it into the Rodecaster Pro, it has a bit of a hiss. So luckily, around this time, iFi actually reached out to me and wanted to know if I wanted to check out their IE Match adapter. And so what this does is it actually is for this exact problem. Most IEMs have low resistance, and that causes problems, and it causes you to hear more hiss and background noises on different sources. So some high quality amplifiers actually balance and account for this, and this does that. They have an ultra and a high mode. I usually just needed to put it in high, and what I found that it silences any of that hiss that I would normally hear on different sources. And so that's awesome. I'm glad that I have that. It works perfectly. It feels like it's built very well. And I did some frequency response measurements to see if it degraded the sound. And you do notice that there is a slight drop off in the highs, but I think it's a small enough amount where you would never notice that. Maybe some of you guys with the, golden ears might be able to, but I wasn't able to. And so I would highly recommend that. It's not extremely inexpensive, so I wouldn't match it to some of the least expensive IEMs, but if you're gonna spend 500 bucks on these, and you do have that issue, it might be something you want to take a look at. So thank you to iFi for sending those out. So these are pretty much the most cohesive set of IEMs that I've ever heard. They sound excellent, and I've compared them to some of these higher end headphones that I have. So, the Focal Stellias, those are $3,000. They sound excellent, as they should. I would go so far as to say that I think that these sound as good to my ears as those Focal Stellias. Crazy, right? So $499 versus $3,000. I like the way these sound. They work for me as far as a reference IEM, and I'm just looking for an accurate sound. So if that's what you're looking for, you're not looking for something that's extremely fun and exciting. It just gives you what it's supposed to give you, and it doesn't do too much to try to mess around with that sound signature. I'll also leave you with a sound demo.
Hard working. 24/7, babe. No timeouts. Wish we could fly away. You and I go to our favorite place. Oh yeah. Make special memories together. I'll be your company now and forever. I say we fly away, you and me. Go to our favorite place. Feeling the sun on my face in Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. I need a summer breeze, some fresh air to put my mind at ease.
Overall, I really like these. I would highly recommend them if you have $4.99 to spend. I don't have other ones in that price range or more expensive to compare them to, so just keep that in mind. So anyway, that's my review of the FiiO FA9s. If you liked the video, make sure to like, subscribe, ring the bell to be notified when I upload new videos. And once again, thank you to my Patreon supporters. If you're interested in becoming a patron, check it out at patreon.com/JoeandTell. Anyway, that's it. Take care. Bye-bye.